Off you go, Chris. And what you want to pursue is the multiple stream dream, right?
I do, yes.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Family Man podcast. I am Chris Niemeyer, here with my good friends Chris McCluskey, Michael McGreevy, and Jamie Slingerland. We are just four guys who are crazy about our wives. We love our kids, and we want to kill it in business. And this show is designed to discuss, collaborate, to dissect all those important topics that are near and dear to us. And I've got to pause here and actually say we are a review away on iTunes of 100 5-star reviews.
Whoa.
Oh, man. And if you're listening and you want to add to that, please visit us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool, you know, and as we've just grown, we're talking about growing streams of income today. We are growing reviews and growing our audience. But there is a stat in the U.S. that the average millionaire has over 7 streams of income. Do you want to be one of them?
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Hey,
baby.
This is part of killing it in business, right? Learning how to have different streams of income. I love having this conversation. It's a fun one to talk about.
It is. I mean, hey, let's be honest. With the amount of kids we have on this screen and the EFM life, it's expensive. So
Come
you
on.
got to be creative.
We need one for each kid, at least.
At least, right?
Should.
No,
Absolutely.
McCluskey's got like 18 streams of income then.
And it's a good thing. Yep.
Yeah, but you know, this is bucking that myth that's out there in the American dream, just to work hard at a job for many, many years or decades, and that's your main source of income. No, we're saying if you want to live this kind of lifestyle, be creative in identifying multiple streams of income. And we actually have a good friend of ours who just came out with a book. It's actually launching in physical form here in a month or so, but Ryan Rieger has this book, Streams of Income, Living the Multiple Income Streams Dream.
That's got a ring to it, kind of. Say that 5 times fast.
I don't know if I could do that.
Ryan is the man. He was in our mastermind group, and we got to know him over the last couple months, and he's an awesome guy, an EFM guy to the core. So we love doing life with him.
Absolutely. And we were talking about this topic earlier, and then we were just reminded about, oh yeah, that's his book. So we grabbed the book, and Jamie, you said, yeah, we should read part of this back cover because it really is solid. And he says, and I'll quote, "Can you imagine having the freedom and the finances to take a trip with your family whenever you want to?" Ooh, that sounds good.
Amen.
By not having to fight traffic to go to a job you don't even like, not stressing when you have an unexpected bill, being able to give more to your church or to your favorite charity. Can you imagine actually loving your work? And those are some of the topics that we talk about regularly on this show. And it really comes down to this point that, you know, every FM guy can have these multiple streams of income because it helps with these other domains that we're about. So guys, I love this topic. I think we all have these multiple streams that we're building, and there's ways to do it. So let's dive in and talk about what are some ways that we can have this multiple stream dream, as Ryan says.
I'll dive right in and point out that when I came out here to the farm 22 years ago and had moved from my counseling practice into coaching, I figured my main stream of income is coaching, of course, right? I start coaching for Christian living. I incorporate it, and I start putting all my energy into building that one thing. And of course, typically when you do start to do that, you begin to get other opportunities, or you really see opportunities. Other kinds of invitations come your way. And as Coaching for Christian Living, Inc. got going, it wasn't very long before looking at some of those opportunities, I realized, I've put all my eggs in this one basket. And that's never a wise policy. So I started thinking multiple streams. And before I knew it, I had grown it from just coaching to consulting and speaking and teaching some courses and writing and getting paid for writing and doing groups and masterminds and providing testing services and interpretation of testings. And so there were actually, by the time the thing was fully going and blowing, there were 13 different streams of income still under the one umbrella of the one business. So that's one way to get started, is just within the one main thing you do, diversify even that one thing into other things that roughly connect to it before you start looking at maybe 3 or 4 other kinds of very different businesses, which I've also done from that point. But just to get started, look at where you are and realize if all your eggs in that one basket, maybe you can just get a few other baskets going with a few other eggs in them.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris, because if you're already having some expertise in a specific area, you can just offer it in a different way, different delivery system, maybe to more people, maybe through a different means, and you already have that content, you already have that that base to build off of. Great one.
Yeah, and I love how the guy who lives on a 400-acre farm uses the eggs in the basket metaphor. I know. What do you do if you live in the suburbs? Don't put all the picket fences in a picket fence pile, or what?
I can't help you there. I don't know.
No, that's a good point. And that's really just the starter, right, Chris, is identifying what you're already doing, finding ways, learning about other opportunities to build out those multiple streams within your current business, and do the same thing with Mission Travel. We've got not just the airfare and the lodging, we went into other leisure stuff, and then to travel insurance, all these other areas. We put a course together for mission trip leaders. You're just trying to how can you think creatively about what you're already doing? And then I think that this other point, number one here, is by being a continued learner, embracing being a continuing learner of how you are approaching this multiple stream dream.
Looking at you guys on the screen here, you guys are lifelong learners. You're always listening to a podcast. You're always reading books, recommending them to me. When you're in a group like this and you're around other people that are continual learners, then you get more than just information about the stream of income that you're working on. All of us have got super pumped up about real estate lately because we're learning from each other. That's probably the most powerful way to learn, is by seeing what other people are doing and talking to them. And I mean, it's a shortcut for me coming up behind somebody like McGreevy in construction, because every time I call up Michael, he's like, why are you frustrated? This is like par for the course. So it's like we learn from each other. We learn from each other's resources. And definitely, I think that connected point is a separate one. But I think I would take that point and throw it in the lifelong learning. Part of being a learner is to get around other people that are smarter than yourself, that are doing other things. And then when you get a go at trying to launch a business, your chances of failing are so much more limited because you got this group of people around you that you've learned from, and you can call them up when you're having problems and learn from their mistakes instead of your own. So,
I'll give another example of this kind of principle, just staying within a particular thing that you launched, but being very open in that lifelong learner mentality to seeing other opportunities before you even start looking at completely diverse kinds of fields. I remember when Rachel and I were fairly newly married, we had built our first home, we had our very first baby. So it was within the first 5 years of our lives, and money was pretty tight. I was working 2 jobs and eventually 3 jobs trying to keep it all together. And we just said, well, what's something that Rachel could do very, very, very part-time, but throw a little bit of income as well? She had been a multi-award-winning baton twirler back in high school and actually competed at the world competition level. So she was quite good. She did all the multiple batons and the fire batons, and she had trophies that were taller than her. I mean, she was like a rock star in this whole thing, truly. But she hadn't twirled, for several years. I mean, it's not something you continue into adulthood usually. But she's like, well, I could teach baton lessons. I can do that with my eyes closed, and I love doing that. So she starts a little baton school for little girls in the neighborhood who want to have private lessons. That's the stream of income, right? Ooh, but wait a minute. If I got groups together, I could teach more girls at one time, charge them lessons, so I could do that as a supplement to their one-on-one. Ooh, but when I'm doing that, then we could actually do parades together. And hey, there are competitions, and I could charge a fee for preparing them for competition and getting them into it. Ooh, wait a minute. Then I could get uniforms and T-shirts, and I could sell the batons. I could sell different kinds of specialty batons and carrying bags and little decorations for the shoes, and on it goes. Multiple streams of income from one little decision to say, hey, maybe I could do a little side thing for a bit of money. There is generally, I think, more money to be made, even within one particular stream or vein, than what we normally think of. And so I just think going in with that openness, that actually attentive looking for mindset, many times multiple streams will present themselves if we're looking for them.
That's a great example, McCluskey. And nowadays, it's ridiculous how easy it is to find information on something you don't know everything about. If you want to learn about something, I mean, information is everywhere. You can call somebody, you can look on YouTube, you can do a web search. I mean, it's ridiculous how easy it is to find information to help you prepare for what you want to pursue.
No, those are good. Those are good points, because this is this new knowledge information economy, right? So I love that story, Chris, that Rachel had this unique gift that she's like, boy, I could actually make some money off of this. And really, I think this is the second point, is embracing what you value, embracing what you already know, what you're good at. Sometimes it's not always going to be the job that you're in. There's something else. I remember years ago listening to a Tim Ferriss episode where he talks about, what do you know a lot about that you could just talk a ton about? I mean, you just have a passion for it. And where are you price insensitive? I mean, where do you spend more money as a budgetary item than other people do, right? Pursue that as a possibility to create a new income stream from that. I know that I'm looking at, you guys on the screen here, so much about, Jamie, you used to travel and Airbnb all over places. You're like, you know what? We need to make our own B&B here. So now you're doing that. You're right in the middle of this massive project.
I love it. Yes, it's so much fun. Yeah, to look for things that you spend money on and things that you know, and that's the way to do it. I know I'm looking at the screen here, and I think Michael McGreevy is starting to do like a boutique shop of selling dress shirts out of his home office. You went from being a construction worker to a coach and now a boutique owner. What's going on over there, Mike?
What Jamie is referring to is my rolling clothes rack, garment rack, as I say. Ordered it on Amazon because when we rent our house out on Airbnb and we go to our other house, we clear out our closets. I put all of our clothes on a rack, roll it into another room and lock it, and off we go to our other house.
Why would you want to have two houses and rent them on an Airbnb?
Why? Because it gives me another stream of income. Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
Man, you're really living the multi-stream dream, as Ryan refers to.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a cool thing, too. To your point, Chris, it works really well for me, the real estate world, because I have a construction background. When I first hung up my tool belt and walked away, my thought was, well, I guess I'm never going to see this again anymore. That skill went down the drain. But here it is, another opportunity to help me be even more savvy with real estate, save money, know the ins and outs of what I can do to add value to my property. Man, it's a huge gift to me now.
It's been cool for me and for us to see you embrace that, Michael, because you've shared stories on this podcast before about what it was like to leave and then go back and experiment with coaching. Now you're getting to do all of this from this just amazing place of freedom and flexibility. You're pursuing this real estate endeavors because you have the capacity and you have the interest, you have the desire to do all that. It's not something that's forced anymore. Yeah. And you're putting just a new threshold underneath your family. I love that. And we've learned from each other. In fact, I'm thinking back to a conversation maybe a month or two ago when, Chris, you and Drew are going through the final closing on this house behind you, and there's some stuff going on that's pretty dirty and dismal, and Mike's like, you know what, it's not that bad, and he gave his expertise, and it goes back to that first point. Like, we're learning from each other as we're creating these income streams, and we're being able to grow even quicker because of the mastermind here.
It's really both of your points that you've hit so far, always learning and always connecting, because it was in conversation with of course, my son, Drew, looking at that property. But then Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Drew connected with you on his own, didn't he? Didn't he just initiate to run by you with a contractor background? Hey, I'm looking at this property my dad's buying, and he's planning on tearing it down because it's pretty messed up right now, but I think I could do something with it. What would he do in connecting with you there? The freedom that I saw Drew have in contacting you guys to ask for input on this thing. He was in that hungry learner state, and he said, who could I talk to? Well, I know exactly who I could talk to. Some of Dad's friends that do this kind of stuff, and he just does and pulls in from you guys. And here he is now doing his first rental property, a quadplex, and he got his respirator in the mail, what, about 2 weeks ago, I guess, from Amazon. Respirators for himself and his buddy, and bodysuits. And they're going in there and ripping out walls and ceilings and flooring and getting it down to the bare structure to figure out what they've actually got and put it back together. That would have been completely out of the reasonable financial investment for me. But with him being willing to go in there and sweat, he can do it. And he does.
That's so awesome. It's such an honor to be able to invest in your son, Drew McCluskey, since my second stream of income after I hung up my tool belt was coaching, which I went through your school and got trained by PCCI. And so here I am benefiting from what you poured into me through your school and getting one of my main income streams up and running. And now I get to take this old construction thing that I hung up and pour back into you and other people around me and use it for my good. And I walked away from that pretty bitter. I was sick of being on the phone. I didn't like it. I almost had a bad taste in my mouth about construction when I walked away. And it's been redeemed and used for good. And that's just really cool when I think about that story. I just thought about that right now.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's perfect, because our last point goes along with what we communicated so far, and that is always be experimenting. It's when we need to start off a new stream of income, there needs to be a level of humility and experimenting, because you're starting something from nothing, but that doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means that you're living the multiple stream dream and starting a new one, baby.
Yeah, well, that's gets back to what I was talking about with Michael. He's experimenting in a new way, in a different way of approaching the construction after leaving it. Right now, he's able to go through this. You got a spring in your step as you approach this tool belt, because this is something that's happening for the betterment of your family, the way that you're doing life and living this income stream dream, as we're talking about today. But
yeah,
I love that. It's just experimenting. I mean, Jamie, you go back to stories about you and finding ways to make money at garage sales, and then you jumped into this Amazon thing, finding ways for retail arbitrage, but you've experimented along the way to make that system work for you.
Oh, yeah. I've learned a lot of my experimenting from Jamie, for sure. Step 1 through 3 in his amazing Amazon business that he has now, selling books, which then led to selling Oriental rugs on Craigslist, which then led to going to
Persian rugs.
Oh, Persian. Sorry.
Yeah. I had the Slingerland Gallery.
The Slingerland Gallery.
A rug gallery.
You really did.
And then you were going to garage sales and finding stuff and selling it. I mean, I've seen you experiment so much, and now that's one of your main sources of income. That's so awesome. It's such a great example of what it looks like to experiment.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a posture of experimenting if you want to be one of those guys that has the multiple streams, because especially like us, I'm looking around and you guys have successful businesses that you built. And sometimes for entrepreneurs like us, it's a little bit intimidating to start from ground zero with the new thing. But the only way we're going to learn a new business is by starting over again. And it takes that level of experimentation, because if you're going to start a real estate business, there's like a gap from going to nothing to bringing your first dollar in. So it takes this humility, especially after you've already become a successful entrepreneur. But that idea of experimenting is key. And I love the EFM mastermind that we're doing, because we all encourage each other to scratch the itch of all the new things, because we realize that we're serial entrepreneurs. Like, we don't want to just keep doing business the way we've always done it, because we get excited about new things. You need to humble yourself if you want to live the multi-stream dream. Boom. Mic drop. We can just end that right there at the outro, right?
I'm thinking about the way that we're wired and the number of fingers we have in different pies of these ideas in entrepreneurship. 5 years from now, we could be talking about totally different stuff because I think we're going to have different opportunities in front of us. And that's just the way that we're wired. We're not one thing kind of guys. But I think to the point of even that stat earlier, the average millionaire has at least 7 streams of income. So don't put your eggs all in one basket. Find ways to experiment, to iterate. I've got an idea I'm pursuing now, going to launch. I've already got 2 other ideas after that if this one doesn't work because I'm ready to go for it, right?
Yep. It's just the way we think and it becomes the way we live. I just came back from Nashville last weekend, right? And I was up there at the Morgan James, which is a publishing house, up there at their red carpet event. Why? Because I started a little publishing industry on my side, a little publishing business, Mount Tabor Media, and I became an imprint of them. I'm not going to do the whole thing myself. So connecting with somebody else who runs a big publishing house, now I've got something going on underneath them. It's the way we think. It's the way we begin to live and operate. And yeah, I mean, opportunities are all around.
Absolutely. And I think we have to acknowledge something too, just for the way that this world works, the way our society works. As we come up through school, it's very linear, right? You go from 6th grade to 7th grade to 8th grade. And the idea of going back or being held back or being in the same grade is humiliation. And that carries over into our career life as well. In the traditional 9-to-5 job, you're either having a lateral move or you're getting promoted and moving up. And when the mindset around entrepreneurship is very, very different, it requires a shift for sure. And we have to embrace the ups and downs, the valleys and the peaks of what experimenting with different opportunities looks like. Because often it's a big step backward when we try something new. We feel weak, we feel incompetent, and that's totally normal, right? Because we don't know what we need to know yet to make it successful.
Yeah, we're just moving forward. But you're right. That's a big, important mindset that we're having to debunk, right? This whole idea of the American dream and the linear way of thinking. We're saying, let's look at all of these different areas. How can we experiment, right? So we've covered a lot here. But what about you? When it comes to this idea of the multiple income.
Yes. But hey, I probably won't edit this out. Like, I'm making you guys laugh because I've had so much. You know why I have all this drywall dust? Because I'm living the multiple stream dream, baby.
Yep. All that dust is getting to you, man.
All right. So what about you?
When you think about this EFM lifestyle that you're pursuing, that you want to live in terms of leading your spouse well, leading your family, think creatively. What could you do to pursue what you already know, you're already learning? Connect and grow in that way. Pursue those opportunities that you have in front of you to grow that stream of income. And then think about what do you know a lot about? What are you interested in? Where are you price insensitive? This is a literal task where you could go through your credit card statement. Where do we spend more money than other people? Well, we might have something there, right? Talk about that with your spouse. Pursue those areas that you know a lot about and identify ways to grow a new stream. But experiment, iterate, pursue, go on this adventure of the multiple income stream dream.
Thank you for listening to the Entrepreneurial Family Man Podcast. Visit efmlife.com to connect with us and others like you who are pursuing success in enterprise, family, and marriage.
It's a wrap. It's good.